When I found out how much water ChatGPT actually uses, I had to look into it. Like, how exactly does he consume the water? For those who haven't heard about it, it's about half a liter or a water bottle for every 100-word email. Quickly, how does it work? You have your prompt, your input. Then you have your black box. This is the data center where the calculation takes place. Then the answer is the output. The black box is the problem. So this right here is our black box. When it's doing all these calculations, one of the byproducts is heat, and the black box cannot operate if it's too hot. And this is where the water comes in. Cooling the actual server doesn't take any water, but cooling the facility does. One way to cool the facility is through a cooling tower. As you can see in the diagram, water is cooled, circulated, blown throughout the system, like an AC unit for your house, for example. So my first thought was, what's the problem? Why can't we just use some salt water? The ocean is limitless. Nope. Salt water is corrosive, doesn't work in the system. My second thought was, couldn't the water just circle through the system sort of in perpetuity? Of course not. And this is where we find the answer. It is true that water can circulate through the system a few times, but when you circulate through the system too many times, you have a lot of impurities and you got to be discharged. It could be recycled, but the rest of the water is evaporated in the cooling tower when the heat is when it's interacting with the heat. Like, that's how it gets rid of the heat. They've worked out that 80% of the water that enters this system is evaporated or consumed and can't be recycled anymore, can't even be discharged. So where does this evaporated water eventually go? That is unfortunately beyond the scope of this presentation. And this is not even taking into consideration the water required to generate the power for the data center, or the water required to actually produce the chips, or the water required to train the AI. That 500 milliliter number does take that into account, but not what I was explaining. The biggest surprise was comparing it to other industries. It's really not even that close. But in the sense that other industries actually consume so much more. But the problem is, what happens when you have a data center in an area that doesn't even have that much water? It'll be competing with the water we drink or the water we use, for example, and we won't be able to outspend them.